Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. I was asked quite recently to make some more positive videos about Labour. At the time I said I thought I might struggle with that, but I've always been a man who can admit when he's made a mistake, and when I thought I would struggle with it, it's turned out not to be entirely true. It shows just how powerful the current media circus is that I even said something like that, really. I've sat down and done some research today and yesterday, and I have to say that the evidence has shown that even somebody like me can still be subtly influenced by the constant barrage of disinformation, pessimism and smear campaignery from the utter bastards and deceivers that make up 90% of our headlines. So my first video of the year is going to be a little examination of some things that Labour have achieved since taking office and things that they intend to achieve in future. I'm well aware that, the right wing will roll their collective eyes and deny that Labour will ever achieve any of these things. But those people have simply forgotten what Labour actually achieved in their last term, or are deliberately obfuscating the fact that the UK was a growing, progressive and economically rich country under the last Labour government and became a failing, small, embarrassing and declining nation under the rule of the Conservatives. That is undeniable now to anybody normal. But if you feel differently, please go ahead and tell me what's better in this country now than it was in 2010. I'll wait. But not that long. Managed decline. Those two words will ring a particularly stinky and bitter bell for anybody who lived in Liverpool under Margaret Thatcher's rule. If you know, you know. But regardless, the whole country needs to hear what I've got to say today, because the media certainly aren't going to tell them about it, and the Tories, Reform and GBBs, and the tabloids in general intend to deliberately lie to people about Labour for the next 5 years probably. So let's just have a quick look at some of the things that have happened so far right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I noticed that 53% of people who watch my videos weren't subscribed. The pain. Come on, just have a quick check that you've subbed, liked and rang the bell. Make a skinny old scouser a little bit happier today. Now I've got quite a long list here. Some might say that I'm just scattergunning positives without providing adequate evidence for my claims, but that's not really what this video is about. You've got Google, and I hope you've got some critical thinking skills. You can go away and research these things if you can stand to acknowledge facts, rather than being one of those people that just wants to wallow in a pit of right-wing bullshit. Labour have set up a national wealth fund. Now for Labour, that means a way to take money from those who are most fortunate and redistribute it among people who are less fortunate. If the Tories set up a national wealth fund, it would probably be in order to take money from everywhere and donate it to wealthy people, wouldn't it? Labour binned the Rwanda plan, the one that cost us £715 million without sending one single asylum seeker to Rwanda. Labour dealt decisively with the far-right Farage riots and did not stop to entertain the idea that we should listen to the concerns of people who just hate brown people and foreigners because they believe lies on Twitter from Nigel Farage or Andrew Tate or Elon Musk, Donald Trump. Labour have opened an inquiry into the vast amount of yours and my money that was given away, often in £1 million contracts, sometimes multi-billion pound contracts, to the Tories' mates during the pandemic. Labour have begun to rebuild good relations with Europe, rather than continually stoking far-right sentiments that we should hate everything European, in order to win the vote of stupid racist gammons who have mostly stopped voting Tory now and started voting for fucking Nigel anyway. Labour have returned control of bus services to local councils instead of private companies who refuse to run a minibus between some little rural village somewhere and the local town centre because it doesn't make £1 million a year in profit. Labour have changed rules that allow private schools like Eton to claim they are charities and avoid tax, just, because they let one pleb kid out of 10,000 attend the school for free, attend their Tory youth camps. Private schools are not charities, and they shouldn't still be benefiting from Victorian loopholes that were set up to allow wealthy people to avoid paying tax. Labour have set aside funds to compensate people affected by the infected blood scandal within months of taking office. The Tories refused to do this for 14 years. They also refused to compensate the waspy women who lost their pensions, but now they're trying to attack Labour for doing just that, obviously. Labour have set up a 24-hour helpline for those suffering with mental health problems, instead of, cutting funding for mental health provision continuously for 14 years, as the Tories did, and telling people with serious mental health issues that they're just faking it, or that they need to pull themselves up by the bootstrings and get on with life. Labour have created a child poverty task force. Now, this is desperately needed, as the Tories plunged 3.2 million children into poverty during their time in office. Who cares though? Most of them are probably kids up north, so fuck them. That was the Tories' attitude. Labour are introducing plans to remove all hereditary peers from the House of Lords, meaning Lord Fuck-Whittingley Twattington Smythe doesn't get to make UK laws anymore because his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather murdered everybody in the local area and claimed 500 acres of land in Cornwall for himself in 1749. Labour have started plans to put their GB Energy project into place and based operations in Scotland in order to boost unity within the UK, instead of trying to convince you that the Scots should be serfs of the Crown and we should hate anybody north of London, like the Tories did repeatedly over many, many years, especially after the referendum. Labour are introducing a renters' rights bill which will stop Mohammed al-Shabir in Saudi Arabia or Ustinov Zolensky in Russia evicting British people from properties because they've decided to turn their 3-bedroom property into a 10-bedroom property instead, with rooms that cost $3,000 a month where you can watch the telly from the shower or there's a toilet in your kitchen. Labour have introduced means that will see rail services return to being state-owned agencies instead of being owned by foreign oligarchs who think it's fine for you to pay £140 for a ticket to London on a train with buffet cars that charge you $7.99 for a prawn mayo sandwich that gives you the shits and means you have to visit the piss-stinking toilets on the train 4 times before you even get anywhere near Euston. Labour have introduced a policy that will make care leavers and victims of domestic abuse more able to access social housing quickly in an effort to replace the hundreds of battered wives refuges that the Tories either immediately closed or reduced funding for so much that they were forced to close within a couple of years of taking power. Labour have introduced plans to make a warm home energy discount available to all renters. Yeah, while the Tories and the media are desperately trying to convince you that Labour hate pensioners and deliberately want your gran to die freezing every winter, they're actually introducing legislation that means nobody on benefits or disability allowance or a state pension will freeze next year. This year, I suppose, isn't it now? Regardless of their age. Labour also introduced their employment rights bill, which gives average people more rights with regard to employment than they have enjoyed under every one of the 14 years that the Tories were in office. The only people that voted against that bill were the Tories and Reform, and a few weird Irish parties who just automatically vote against everything for, Okay. Labour are also going to begin the introduction of youth employment schemes, giving young people from often disadvantaged backgrounds the opportunity to learn a trade and become independent in their own lives. That last one strikes a particular chord for me because I spent most of my formative years learning to be a chef, courtesy of a similar scheme that the last Labour government put in place. The one I did was particularly good because it meant that I basically got paid a very small amount to go to college. But my mum appreciated the £10 a week in keep that I used to give her. That one really does give me some faith that we are heading towards a country that we can be proud of in the way we could between the late 90s and during the 2000s, rather than the one we're utterly ashamed of today. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I might have got a little bit carried away there, but these things aren't difficult to find details about. The information's out there in the public domain. But let's be honest, Labour seem to be even shitter at communications now than they were when Corbyn was in office. And that's saying something, innit? I have faith in Starmer as a decent and competent man, but he's utterly rubbish at illuminating the reasons why people should vote Labour in future. Unfortunately, it seems it's down to people like us. Seriously, I'm just some daft scouser having a moan on the internet, yet my videos often get more views than the ones Sir Keir puts on his own YouTube channel. Did you even know Starmer has a YouTube channel? I'll leave a link in the descriptions box. You'll also find links to my Buy Me a Coffee page if you want to make a one-off donation to the channel, and other links if you want to become a Patreon or a member. It's not required. My YouTube content will always be free to access, but I do intend to try and do a bit more for members and patrons as the year goes on. So if you've enjoyed the video, that might be an option for you. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that I need to say, but for today, that's as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say. Ta-ra-la. You're my co-host, aren't you, babe? Yeah? Not that you have any idea what's going on, of course. You're a little bit funny in the head, aren't you? But at least you hang out with your dad while I'm recording. That's the main thing, isn't it, babe? Yeah.